Okay, so thank you for watching this video. Now, this video is about how huge of a failure Wikileaks is. And when you think about it, Wikileaks was released the same day that the hot mic tape with Donald Trump and Billy Bush was released. And I'm not sure if it's the exact same day, but it was around the same time, and it was around October 7th. So now the hot mic tape took over mainstream media, and this started out because Donald Trump said he didn't actually sexual assault women during his debate on October 9th, which is the second debate, and then women afterwards just been accusing Donald Trump of just they accused him of kissing her and groping her and whatnot. Um, in my opinion, most of those stories seem fake, and I think or exaggerated. Especially with that one video where uh, one this one beauty pageant contestant, um, Trump said she said Trump kissed her, and then she started crying after, like during the interview, and like started freaking out. And I was like, wait, what are you freaking out for? It's just like a kiss on cheek, you know. And even if it was on the lips, this come on, it's just a peck. Are you serious? What are you crying for? Okay, so that was my rant on that. In my opinion, the WikiLeaks dump is nothing in comparison to the sex allegations that Trump was dealing with in the past 2 weeks. And I'm actually recording this like right after the debate on the third debate, actually. So this October 19th. I haven't watched the debate yet, so um, I hope Trump won. I'm a Trump supporter. But anyways, let's get back on topic. So here are the reasons why that I think that the WikiLeaks dump is nothing in comparison to sexual assault allegations. So now most of the accusations that the alternative media have been accusing Clinton of uh, for from the WikiLeaks dump, or based off of the WikiLeaks dump, I think these allegations could be easily be debunked, whether they're true or false. Okay, and I wrote that here. The liberal media is correct in saying that these emails could be tampered with. I personally think that these have not been tampered with, but if you're a Trump hater, you could easily just say, "Oh well, these hackers uh, changed the contents of the emails." So if you're having like a debate on whether with somebody, and I guess if you're trying to like turn a Hillary Clinton supporter into a Trump supporter, you're gonna have a tough time. So secondly, a lot of the coverage about these emails are based on Bernie Sanders. And when I mean the coverage, I mean basically the alternative media that's on the internet. They've been mostly covering about Bernie Sanders. Um, and they've been saying like how Bernie Sanders been treated badly by Clinton, or they were they were just you know pulling up schemes of Bernie Sanders. It's just to try to win debates and whatnot. Um, these allegations don't interest me. And I don't think it interests a lot of other people. And it's because Bernie Sanders is not part of the race anymore. And when you think about it, this is a two-way race. It's Trump versus Hillary Clinton. And how is this going to make Donald Trump look better? It really doesn't, in my opinion. Uh, so most of these emails are just normal work emails. There are some red flags and drama in the campaign, but a lot of these emails are nothing special. And and it comes down to my fourth point, where a lot of these red flags in these emails are not really that serious. And I'll go into more detail about some of these WikiLeaks emails. You know, some of the subjects that have been raised about the WikiLeaks emails, in regards to red flags about the Hillary Clinton campaign and Hillary Clinton herself. Here are the points here. Um, so the Clinton Foundation receiving money from foreign governments, the use of propaganda in Syria, knowledge of Saudi Arabia and Qatar funding ISIS, and possible collusions with mainstream media. So those are some of the topics that have been covered by the alternative media, or the internet. And you rarely see some of the articles in regards to WikiLeaks in mainstream media, and that includes Fox News, which is, in my opinion, I think that's a right wing type of media, because they're most of them are Trump supporters. Every single other mainstream media, such as like uh, NBC and CNN, they're total left wing media, and they're total like they're and there's allegations of possible collusion with CNBC, which is a division of NBC basically, and you know, and when if you just watch CNN, you'll know that they're on the Clinton side, and there is most likely collusion with that. Um, but now there hasn't been much coverage of it, um, so I don't think the general public would know, and if you're and for all the people that don't like Donald Trump, just because they think that Donald Trump is racist or something, because they have a liberal mind. You know, you can't really argue. It's tough to argue that WikiLeaks is really important. It's tough to argue that because, you know, as I said, WikiLeaks could be easily be tampered with, and most of these allegations are kind of false. And I'm going to go in detail more on some of these. And now, okay, so now when you look at these four topics here, uh, there could be others out there, and there's some new topics that I'm not aware of. And also some of these new data, there has been new data dumps lately, and and some interesting stuff may pop up. Okay, so let's get on to some in more detail with the articles here. Okay, so here's Hillary Clinton and her deal with well, not a deal with Deutsche Bank, her speech with Deutsche Bank. So Deutsche Bank is basically a foreign bank, and that gave Hillary $260,000 for her speech. Basically, the Hillary campaign wanted to release the transcript of this speech, but the Clinton press secretary didn't want to do it because he thought it would make Hillary look bad. And the reason why is because the contents of the transcript says Deutsche Bank needs to address the public perception that financiers has rigged the economy. Um, you know, now with this topic here, if they actually released the transcript for this speech, I honestly think that would make Hillary Clinton look better, because she did say that it's you'll she's trying to tell him to tell the public about you know how they rigged the economy, or just like address the issue. So I think that's why it made her look better, but it's their fault for not bringing this article up. But now with this article, this is more about yeah, this is like campaign drama, and it doesn't really make sense. But also it plays into a narrative that Clinton is like a Wall Street candidate, because she is dealing with these financiers. But really though, I think it's really good. I don't know why they didn't put this out there. Okay, so now here's the second article here. Uh, it's tough to, yeah, it's really tough to see what's going on here. But I'll tell you what this article is about. This article is about a possible $1 million donation to the Clinton Foundation, and you know, this happened in 2012 while Clinton was Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton promised not to receive funding through the Clinton Foundation from foreign governments, and she pledged the fifth to the State Department in regards to that issue. If I said that correctly, hopefully I did. So this was about Qatar giving Clinton Foundation $1 million for Bill's birthday. Qatar is an Islamic state, which has huge implications on human rights. It's just unethical for anybody to receive money from a state like Qatar, especially like a leader like such as Clinton. Also, there's speculation that Qatar will want favors from American government if they give Clinton $1 million, Bill Clinton, or the foundation. Now, this is just speculation, but we don't know if Clinton Foundation actually went on and made this deal, and also take into account that the hackers could change the emails as well. So, it's tough to argue. It's tough to kind of argue, you know, that something bad came out from that WikiLeaks email. Okay, so new WikiLeaks email. So she was possibly getting cozy here with a New York Times reporter. Um, Actually, I'm not sure with this issue. I don't have any notes. So Jennifer Palmieri, the director of communications from the Clinton campaign, wrote an email to Clinton several others that Maggie Haberburn Times read the story to Haberburn prior to the publication. Oh, okay. So New York Times are giving um, articles to the Clinton campaign before they actually publicate it. So that's what they were kind of alluding to. I haven't read the full article yet. Might as well do. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Part of me is seen to suggest that a negative story could damage relationship between the campaign and the Huberman. Really? Wait, I want to read this whole email. Madam Secretary, I wanted to give you an update on New York pending story Acosta policy proposal. Brian and I, with the help of Jake Nero, fought hard on this. I had a pretty frank conversation with what about the unfair story would do to further set back the relationship. Wow. Okay, so this is kind of collusion. Okay, so this is a big story to be honest. Um, Now here's the thing though. He could easily argue that, like, like I said, like 3 times already in this video, that the emails could be easily hacked and tampered with. So you could argue that if you're trying to like if you're a volunteer, if you're trying to persuade people to voting for Trump, it's kind of tough to kind of argue. I could argue that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it kind of seems a big story. I didn't read the full story yet, so I'm not sure it's full real. So I'm gonna move on here. Okay, so now, this is a huge article. Now it's written by this girl here, I showed on the screen, Sharmeen Narwani, and basically it just paints like a really bad picture on her. And like I said earlier in this video, this is her Clinton's stance on foreign policy and what she has done in the past and what the WikiLeaks have shown about Hillary Clinton. And I think this is huge. But in comparison to the sex allegations, I just don't think it even compares. Because all this is all said and done. And Hillary Clinton could change her policies on here, well, on Syria. some of the main issues on this year's election are not really about the foreign policies, and it's not really about ISIS. And I think with Donald Trump's explanation of his foreign policies, I don't think he doesn't explain it well at all. So I really believe Donald Trump's policies are a lot better, but I think any conservative policy would be better than Clinton's. So I'm ranting here. So I'm just gonna continue on here what the article says. So this article is okay. Okay, so so this article mentions that there has been speculation that USA has been using propaganda to help incite Syrian discontent in June. Syrian discontent in June 2011 email. Clinton's director of policy planning, Anne Marie Slaughter, brings this up. Anne Marie Slaughter brought up the idea to have a meeting with the United States Security Council to inform Syrian civilians that its government, the Syrian government, may use sectarian violence, and it will just basically call it a really bad state. She specifically says that it will encourage civilians to start rebelling and start to protest. Uh, so this is kind of huge because this says that USA is doing propaganda to start the civil war, to spark the civil war in Syria, and that Hillary Clinton was behind it. So that's kind of big in my opinion. But I think this will be brushed under the rug, and it has been brushed under the rug because nobody's really been covering this issue. And this is an RT article, Russian television. Okay, so this article also mentions the speech to a Jewish United Fund in August 2013. In this speech, she mentions a hands-off approach to Syria, saying, "Let them kill themselves until they get exhausted. Then we'll go figure out how to deal with the remnants are. Deal with what the remnants are." Okay, now that is just disgusting, in my opinion. Very disgusting. Um, it kind of just shows that like Hillary Clinton has like she has a very cold-hearted heart and bloodstream. Okay, so now this article also mentions an email from John Podesta in August 2014. It shows that Hillary Clinton was aware that the Allies were supporting terrorists. Hillary Clinton mentions to use specific diplomatic intelligence assets to pressure the governments of Qatar and Saudi Arabia to not finance or arm radical Sunni groups such as ISIS. Um, so uh, you know, so they were gonna. So what actually happened here? Okay, so now this article mentions that Hillary Clinton is the biggest weapons sale to Saudi Arabia in U.S. history, and she gave $67 billion of weapons in the epicenter of global terror. So, when you connect the dots, uh, when you connect the dots, you know, Hillary Clinton knew that Saudi Arabia is arming terrorists, yet she gives $67 billion worth of weapons to the epicenter of like where the terrorists are at. You know what I'm saying? So if she gave the biggest weapon sale to Saudi Arabia in U.S. history, and she knows that Saudi Arabia is funding terrorists. That shows bad judgment for one, and shows how just terrible like how she is as Secretary of State. And I think she's a really disaster for just globally overall. And this is like the main reason why I just really just hate Hillary Clinton. It's just her bad decisions, and she has to understand that her bad decisions are killing millions of lives down in Syria, and it's really terrible. Okay, let's move on. In another email that's been mentioned in this article, Clinton said that Saudis were arming people that would cause problems in the future. So that's just puts the icing on the cake on what I just said. Um, a transcript from the Goldman Sachs speech of CEO conference in June 2013 mentions that Clinton wanted a no-fly zone in populated areas in Syria so that the U.S. pilots would not be at risk. It also mentions that we will kill lots of civilians. So yeah, it's just more and more how Hillary Clinton is just a bad woman. Um, if you guys honestly, yeah, I recommend you guys read this article. It's really big, but it does really paint a terrible picture of Hillary Clinton, and I agree with what this person said. All right, so next article. Okay, so in this article, it mentions of a billionaire. If I I wonder if there's a picture of him here. Maybe not. Okay, so it mentions of a billionaire who wrote a blog about Hillary Clinton. Oh wait. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. This is not the article I'm talking about. Okay. So this is oh man, I feel really bad. Man, I'm embarrassed. But let's just move on anyways. So uh so this plays into a narrative that Hillary Clinton in her campaign is colluding with the mainstream media. So John Howard, chief of Washington correspondent for CNBC, tells Podestra that Clinton's use of a private email server is not worth talking about. Um, which is not true because it's really well worth talking about. Um, but essentially, but yeah, I mean that's all what this article is about. And well, I think it's a really terrible article, to be honest. Well, not terrible. Okay, okay. Yeah, it's just this article. I don't think there's like anything interesting in this article really, because you could easily argue that in their email they're not really colluding, they're just having discussions with each other, and you could argue that the reporter really thought that you know the Clinton email is not worth talking about. It's just an opinion, I guess. I don't think the media should be opinionated that way, but I guess they are. Anyways, so next article. Okay, so WikiLeaks releases the eighth batch of emails, and I'll just go and I'll just I'll just I'll just give like an outline of what they were talking about. In July 2015, or a summary, Fred Wilson, who is a billionaire, wrote a blog about how much he supports Clinton's stance on the economy. Okay, yeah, this is what I was saying before. I was moving ahead myself. Anyways, enough about me. Let's talk about this article. Okay, the email suggested that Clinton aide Huma Abedin contacted Fred Wilson. Basically, the Hillary Clinton campaign wanted to get a huge donation from Fred Wilson. And one thing, uh, so basically, Hillary Clinton wanted. So it plays to a narrative that Hillary Clinton wanted is like a Wall Street Journal. I mean, a Wall Street candidate where she wants funding from outside donors. Um, yeah, and she's actually like really like searching out for like campaign money. So she needs it though for like her campaign ads and whatnot. But I think overall, I think her she's not really financially like watching her money, and Hillary Clinton spent millions of dollars and Trump spent like very little. So this shows that Clinton doesn't really know how to like just manage her money really. And for a president, you want a president that could just be well managed, and just make good decisions really. Um, Also, one thing to mention in this article, look, as you see here, attack on Sanders. They're trying to talk about Bernie Sanders, but like come on, like Bernie Sanders is not in the campaign. Nobody. I mean, I'm not interested. I mean, Bernie Sanders supporters would care, but I'm not. I was never a Bernie Sanders supporter, so I don't really care at all. So okay, so now one thing to mention here is that uh, Hillary Clinton pointed out that she was going to reinstate a Glass-Steagall Act, which is a type of policy that involves Wall Street banking. I thought it'd be interesting to bring that up. I'm not really sure what the policy is about. Actually, I don't, you know, I mean, I'm not really going to dwell into what that policy is about, but that could be something interesting. That could be like a big article. That could be something really big, So, and if someone who's like, who's like a business person would want to find that interesting, you know. I just pointed out there. I'm not a financial person, so I'm not going to dwell into it. Moving on, this article has another WikiLeaks email that's really interesting. Um, Pedestra pointed out in April 2015 that Clinton was interested in keeping backroom deals uh, from the public. She specifically said, again, that she needs both a public and private position, and this is during her speech with the National Multi uh, Housing Council. Okay, so and this plays into the narrative that she's Hillary Clinton is like a two-faced type of person, and she's not trusted with the public, and because she has a private and public position. She also said that in past with the Goldman Sachs speeches. Okay, what is this? Close this ad. Here we go. Investors conspired with Clinton campaign to ambush Trump on live CNBC. Yeah, so this plays into your narrative that Hillary Clinton is colluding with mainstream media. And this article was actually very interesting. And this is the last article I actually have here. So this is another article. Um, so and it's about it's collusion with the media. So this is a conversation with Pedestra and Glenn Hutchins from CNBC, and they're talking about an interview that Glenn was going to do with Donald Trump. Pedestra told Glenn to ask Trump a question about minimum wage, and I guess they thought Trump would stumble on this question. I if you this is a really interesting story. It's a very small, but it makes sense. What is this? Get out of here. Okay. Um, but the thing about this article is, I've tried to find the video for this specific interview with Donald Trump and Glenn Hutchins. I couldn't find it at all. So I'm guessing that their plan to make Trump look bad failed because like, nobody covered the story. And also, it would have been nice to have it in an article. It would have been great to have it because it would it would be like the cherry on top of the cake to for accusing Hillary Clinton of collusion with the press, or not the press, the like mainstream media. So there you have it. There all these articles on WikiLeaks that I brought up. It just they're very consequential. Yeah, I don't know if I said that right, but you know they could easily be argued against. Like if you're having an argument against with like a Hillary Clinton supporter, they could easily argue back and say, "Hey, sex allegations are way more important than these emails." Um, the one the one topic that these WikiLeaks came that the WikiLeaks just came out with, where they're the foreign topics about Syria and ISIS and whatnot. I think those were the most important one. But I think this here would be swept under the rug on the general population. Um, if you really want to dig dirt on Hillary Clinton, you'd have to you have to read all these articles, and these and there's hardly any videos on these articles. So you have to take your time to like search up WikiLeaks Clinton on Google, and to see some dirt on Hillary Clinton, and I'll be honest, most of these articles are really biased towards Donald Trump, and someone could really, and so if someone Hillary Clinton supporter, if they read that, I would guarantee you that some of them would just honestly just close the article and just move on with their lives. So in the end, I think these WikiLeaks dumps are a fail. I think the media has won. They've done well covering these WikiLeaks articles up with just interviewing these women who are, no doubt, most of them are lying, if not all of them are lying. They did well, and they did all the coverage on women. And if you ever watch like CNN or MSNBC, that's like the only thing they've talked about. So I mean, there's my opinion on what these WikiLeaks brought up. Thanks for watching. Uh, have a good day.